Welcome back to Les Schwab Tire Center's Outdoor GPS. It's time for Owin's Field Report.
Now, the reports to share this morning are very similar to yesterday. Really, the only, I guess if you were to say the bigger story out of the opportunities for fall Chinook, that's where most people are spending their time right now. And I actually did get a message from one of our Facebook fans wanting more info. I was just talking about this with Scott about bass fishing. That photo that we showed you just a little bit ago of just a dandy largemouth. We're going to start doing that. There's enough of a demand for it. We need to start talking more about bass fishing. So if you've got ideas or if there are things that you want to know in particular about locations or different ways to target bass, just let us know. We'd be happy to accommodate in any way that we can. We love to bring additional info if we can. So those are options as well. But up and down the coast, it seems like, and the last handful of years, and I hate to say it, but at least that Tillamook fishery, depending on what river system those fish are ultimately intending on going back to, has really not been great. And there's, a number of reasons that you could attest that to. But big picture, seems like down a little bit further, a little bit more central in that Siletz area has been very productive. And it's small river fishing, but a lot of folks, yes, are still in those smaller, shallower areas, are running 360s, evolution flashers in particular, and a number of different baits, if they're spinners or super baits or spinning fish, whatever they might be. Certainly some good reasons to head towards the coast. For myself and a lot of you out there, I wait for the rivers to become an option. We got a long ways to go when you're talking about that. We need some significant rain and need to see these rivers blow out and then ultimately draw whatever fish is in any sort of bay or tidewater areas up into the rivers themselves. Cross your fingers when we talk with Drew here in just a little bit that he says that we're going to get 4 or 5 inches of rain along the coast, maybe a massive windstorm. Blow the ducks off the, I'm sorry, I'm getting selfish there. But certainly some great options that are out there, but don't overlook the Columbia. The reports that I got from yesterday, the fishing is still very, very good, especially for it being what time of year it is. So when you're talking about the 20th of October and you can still go out and do 3, 4, 5 fish per rod, take your pick between whichever one you want to retain. That's pretty, that's a lot better than spring Chinook fishing, isn't it? Yeah, I would have to say that it is. But let's just take a quick look at the fish counts. I wouldn't expect to see a significant difference since yesterday, although it did bounce a little bit. All of these numbers, when you're talking about Bonneville, all depend on the flow coming out of the dam itself. And I mentioned yesterday, got a question about it in particular, about these numbers, the way that they are. Not to be too concerned about that, because depending on where you are below Bonneville, and of course above Bonneville, mouth of the Klickitat, for crying out loud. We're going to talk about that specifically with Scott when you're talking about Brad's Wigglers and how effective they can be on silvers. But a lot of the Chinook that folks are catching below Bonneville, they're not intending on going above it. They're going to be going to a lot of the tributaries that are below. And for that matter, if you were to fish directly above the dam, they can be very interesting as well. So you're just not going to see big numbers, but the fishing opportunities can still be good in silver numbers. There's just so many of them over the dam that Bonneville pool area in a number of different mouth locations has been very productive, and it should continue to be that way well into November, unless there's just something catastrophic that happens. You got some decent options that are out there. But river levels, let's take a look at some of the smaller rivers like I already mentioned. But the Columbia, like I said yesterday, these are just vertical, up and down. I mean, basically, if you were just to split the difference and go to the average, you got about a 2-foot average. Not a lot of water. Very, very, very low. You go out there in some of the spots, if you're not familiar and you're running up and down the main stem Columbia, stick to the middle of the river. Find the channel and stay there. Because if you got yourself too far one way or the other, north or south on the river, or I guess if you're low enough, east and west, you might be finding some sandbars, deadheads, pilings. So just kind of pay attention when you head out there. Moving along, we'll take a look at Bonneville Dam. Still just very, very consistent. They're just doing their typical spill and stop, so nothing too crazy going on there. This is really good conditions if you like to spend your time close to Bonnie. Pretty simple on that one. But if you take a look at some of those smaller rivers, my home river, this one is the Clackamas. We just can't quite see it there. This is the Clack. It is forecasted to have a small bounce here. I went by it yesterday, and it is just a trickle currently. But when you do get those small bounces, we've said it quite a bit, those fish will make a move, and they get a little bit snappier as well. Here's the Clackman. Okay, so reframe. Thank you for that. So pay attention. If those are the systems that you like to spend some time, it's well worth doing it. And as we move along and take a look at some of the other rivers, the Wilson in particular is a good barometer for all the rivers there in the North Coast area. Trickle, Crick, I mean, the Wilson Crick. I mean, there's not a lot of flow, not a lot of water, but the reports have been that there's been fish getting caught and spotted quite a ways up the Wilson when you would not have expected that based on the conditions that we have. But it's just that time of year. They do have a clock as well. So they will make a move. If you do start targeting any Chinook on any river, if you see them on beds, leave them alone, please. You want more of them coming back in the future. Slets, as I mentioned a little bit ago, any of these bounces is just good stuff. If you're fishing Tidewater, Coyote Rock area, you know, very, very popular. Number of different ways that you can go after them. I just love floating bobber-and-eggs in some of those spots. Alcee, when you get down a little bit further, is also an option for you. So not good numbers, right? I mean, not good levels at all. You're going to have to pay attention as we go throughout October and go into November, looking for that first freshet that everybody is excited about. Not everybody. Bay fishermen aren't looking forward to that. But in the end, a lot of us are. When you like to spend time on the smaller water, it's a good way to go. When something like that happens on the Nehalem, that's an interesting forecast. An over a foot bounce. Huh. Just have to see how things kind of play out as you go forward. Procure, always give you that opportunity each week to win a prize pack. You got to send Jason an email though. It's jason@procure.com. If you do that, they pick a winner every Monday morning. And if you're the winner, you will be notified that Monday morning. And hopefully you're successful because you'll need it. It is a steelhead pack, but you can use it for a number of different things. Okay, let's check in with Drew Reeves and find out what this weather is going to be like. And Drew, I've had a chance, fortunately, to work with you quite a bit over the last 3 years that we've been here. I'd love to see some more rain. Hopefully that's coming.
There is more rain. I wouldn't say there's a ton of it in our 7-day forecast, but I think maybe beyond our 7-day forecast, it could get a bit wetter. Today, we are going to see wet weather, but not through the first half of the day. We're seeing lots of sunshine right now, and that's what we'll see through about lunchtime, then early afternoon. Clouds start to increase. Then by this evening, the rain is going to arrive. Right now, 54 degrees. Here you can kind of see how the day is going to be shaping up. Lots of that sunshine there. And then there's the rain, probably coming around 4 or 5 o'clock this afternoon, maybe a little bit later for some of us, and then it will stay rainy into tonight. The rainfall for this evening looks like it'll probably be somewhere between 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch in the Portland area, as well as mostly out along the coast. Then we don't see a ton of wet weather through the week. This is going into Saturday evening. We will get a little bit more with some showers tomorrow. Some rain returns Thursday night, Friday, Saturday showers as well. But all of that is looking like it's going to be pretty light. Then, as I mentioned, beyond our 7-day forecast, it does look like it could start to turn pretty wet between Sunday and Monday, maybe even Tuesday of the following week. So that's where we're really going to be looking for some heavy rainfall. And this October has been fairly dry. We've only seen 6/10 of an inch of rainfall. Typically, we'd be at almost 2 inches for the month so far. In a typical month, we get close to 3.5 inches. So we're pretty behind where we would typically be. Temperatures have mostly been warm this October as well, but we are cooler through the week. Today, though, we should climb to the low 70s before that rain arrives, then drop to the low 60s tomorrow. We'll continue with the low to mid 60s through the week, and then Friday and Saturday a little bit cooler there with, again, some pretty light showers Friday, Saturday, and Thursday evening, and then we'll keep monitoring as we get into Sunday and Monday of next week to see how rainy it's going to get. Owen?
Well, let's hope it keeps up. I'd love to see more, hopefully some more mountain snow in our near future.
Yeah, not a ton in the 7-day, but we'll see beyond that.
Let's hope. Drew, it's great to see you again. Have a great week, okay?
Thanks.
All right, we do have one phone call that's hanging. I want to make sure to get this in. This is Mark. Mark is on the Columbia River, or just a report from the Columbia River, Mark? Mark, can you hear us okay, bud? Okay, we don't have Mark. All right, let's go ahead and cut to a break. That'll save me a little bit of time for Mr. Scott Call from Brad's. We're going to have him here in the studio throughout the remainder of the show because we got a ton of stuff to talk about. Certainly on everyone's radar are opportunities on some of the smaller rivers for big Chinook, silvers, and chum. And if you don't like catching chum, I don't know what to do with you. We'll have Scott in just a couple of minutes. Don't go anywhere.
Outdoor GPS is brought to you by P-Line, because we fish, by Hawken Fishing, perfection in fishing gear, and by Haxton's Canvas and Upholstery, the trusted name of the Pacific Northwest.